I told you guys it was not going to be the same as last week. We had to go to a map number 3. We had to go the distance. And of course, it had to be this first match of the week between Moist, Shopify, and Thinking Man. We just saw a map of Breeze that was also, just like the first map, one-sided, but not the other way around. A Moist Shopify shift that now we saw playing more the way that we expected. And I think I want to talk about something that you mentioned early in the desk before we jump into that second map. And it had to be that jet duel to guarantee Shopify taking us to that third map. And that is exactly what they did. It was a meta diff all along. Went over 20 kills, less than 10 deaths. He was just popping off.
Yeah, 23 and 9. 8 of those kills were by way of operator, and most importantly, maybe what takes the cake, maybe what ices it, 5-0 in first blood contacts. So yeah, definitely big time jet diff to be sure, but it's more than just that. I think in particular, you look again at those 3 rounds in the first half before all the individuals mostly took over what was the majority of this highlight reel, and there were great executes being put together by Thinking Men. They just weren't able to capitalize on the couple remaining defenders that were legitimately isolated in their sights. 3 straight rounds in a row, and then after that, once you started to get an eco advantage, really MXS never looked back, flat out. Just individual plays after individual plays. Mata was not guarded. You couldn't throw enough bodies on him to keep him restrained. And that was, again, that's the MXS kind of effect. When you start to feel confident, they just pull out that front page of their playbook, which is the "we're better than you" strat, and they just started running it down.
Yeah, I mean, come on, like, Breeze is the kind of map that is heavily decided by like the first kill, first death. And then we're talking about a team who converts the most of their 5v4 rounds in general. Then you look at the first kill, first death stats for Mata individually, and then you look at the fact that half of Vic's kills come from 4Ks. Now, there's 2 4Ks over on this map, and they come on gun rounds. Just as Thinking Men are starting to try and build an economy, he absolutely flattens them. Like it is so oppressive to play from that position, and having Vic have these huge moments, they're not anti-eco stomps. Like, he's generally just absolutely ruining Thinking Men just as they're poised to try and get back into the game. It's demoralizing. It's oppressive to play against. That's an MXS for you. What a showing on Breeze. Really polished.
This was one of those maps where the stats that we have on paper really did match what we got to see in the game. And that is what was so interesting about it. When we talked about the first blood, about the 5v4 conversion, Moist Shopify, we're doing this constantly, pretty much every single round. And Uber, just to go back on something that we talked about for these 2 teams, once again, we start to see the issues for Thinking Men on struggling to find an opening, struggling to capitalize out of any sort of benefit and positioning that they had, even on that second half. And what I want to talk to you about especially is one of the issues that we talked about for Thinking Men, and what they had to do was get the pistol rounds, get the first kills, and then be able to close out those rounds. This one was such an interesting map because they win both of the pistols, and yet they just cannot win any rifle v rifle.
Win a gun round. Win a gun round. I mean, 4 out of 5 of the rounds they won were a result of winning the pistol, right? Pistol anti-eco on both halves. You win 1 round and a gun round. And that's devastating. You are playing from behind the entire game virtually. When you're not getting first pick by Mata, Vic is mowing you over. Like, this game, like, it is actually, I'm going to say this, I would say it was even more one-sided potentially than the split game, because at least MXS are actually winning gun rounds on split. Just throw away the pistol and anti-eco rounds, right? Pretend they don't matter, and pretend they don't exist. I think MXS won more rounds than
the only reason I react that way is I think that there were winnable rounds for the side of Thinking Men in this one, where on the first half of split there were rounds that MXS weren't even giving themselves chances. So I don't know. I'm going to step into the throne room of Thinking Men and go up to bat for them a little bit, but flat out, the second half, I agree with you. The second half wasn't even close. That was just all
so crazy
Mata,
to me. They were very good. Thinking Men were doing a very good job controlling halls, or setting up to punish like an overpush from the defenders on halls. Like, that was a part of their game plan that was ironclad. But it was like, as soon as they, like, I think they struggled on the B side a lot, and there were some rounds they got all the way up halls to flank onto that A site, right? I think it was an anti-eco round, to be fair. But
it was.
They do well in that part of the map. But Moist Shopify make more use of mid. They will stick Mata in tunnel and have him watch the cross. They will have him in nest. You know, they will really make use of that position.
And that is such a big difference too, because there's something that I've heard a couple of players say, and that always stays with me, because we try to break down these rounds, break down why Thinking Man couldn't really close out these rounds, close out those rifle rounds. But the truth is, some players go and say, you know, you can have this strat, you can have this plan around the map, but a player goes in, kills 3, and that's the round. There's nothing you can do. You can plan all you want, but when you have a player on the other side, like Mata, performing the way that he did, it's very difficult to play around. And for Thinking Man, a team that we've seen struggle, this is where the struggles get to show again and get to shine a little bit more again. So Shift, we've kind of gone back and forth between how we feel about Thinking Man from the map 1 to the map 2. How do you feel about this third map that we're going into of Bind?
Yeah, so here's the anticipation, you know, because this has been kind of a staple for Thinking Men in the last calendar year now, that they've ran double duelists. They've ran Yoru with the Rays. And I think a lot of that is, again, you have the affordability to take a little bit of weight off Paint's shoulders, saying, we're not just relying on you to take over, kind of like where on the other front, MXS do look towards Mata to be, maybe not the one factor, but he is a factor that they can rely on to just dominate and take over on this map. So when you get off Breeze, you're no longer looking at the Mata Jet diff versus what Paint was able to bring or not bring on Jet. They're trying to ease the pressure off that duelist role by adding another element towards finding information, gathering the intel in a confirmed way, and then using that. That's where they were great on Split, and I would hope that they can find ways to replicate that here again, because in the time that we've seen them play it, they did play it in week number 1 versus YFP. Their attacking half was so much better than what we've seen to this point, because they are able to confirm information off that Yoru. So that's what I'm mostly looking forward to, I think, for Thinking Man.
One thing I want to see on the attacking side, if you're playing this Yoru comp, it's like show up showers at the start of the round and just gate crash towards B-Long, right? We see Tens do this all the time when he plays one. Show up in showers, maybe trade, maybe just like, you know, contest the orb a bit and then join the rest of your team at B-Long. I think this comp, as opposed to the Gecko comp, is extremely good at pulling people into rotations, and it also fights very well for back A side. Whereas the Gecko comp can, but often chooses not to, right? You get enough smokes down, you might throw a mosh pit towards the back of U-Hall, and you just wingman plant and then sit an A short. And honestly, you give the defenders a little bit more room for retake, albeit it is harder to like break the post plant setup that can be really oppressive. So, you know, I enjoy watching teams who really want to get into that A site and just make it very, very hard to come from like, you know, defender spawn side of the map and have any retake opportunity.
And this is really interesting. I really like that you mentioned Tens, for example, playing with this Yoru, because the composition that you see for Thinking Man, it is exactly the same composition that we saw Sentinels in VCT run throughout VCT Americas the entire time. It was with this Yoru and this Race, this double duelist that was working out. And then they go and change the composition a little bit, right? So for Masters, for example, you don't see the Yoru anymore, you see the Gecko. So it's in a way adapting a little bit more to what Moist Shopify is doing with this Gecko, but they're doing it in their own way, right? They're playing these double initiator. That is quite a lot of information, because you can really play around it, right? You send the Dizzy, it gets shot, but then you send the guiding light as well. So you have a lot of opportunity to shift to play around these double initiator. But there's still a good chance for Thinking Man. I just want to see the way that they play around this Yuri, and like Uber said as well, playing around showers, which I feel like sometimes is missing for some teams.
Yeah, it definitely can be. And I think the thing that's interesting, kind of to further up that conversation, is that Thinking Men were trying to pull a Gecko and a Yoru at the same time. And I have to imagine them swapping over to a Sky in week number 1 was more off the fact of, we're not able to confirm that these flashes in the space that we're trying to take is confirmed space. So that's where I think the difference is, because as much as you love to have the sidekick jump in, plant the spike for you, or give attempt to defuse, if you can't confirm the space that he's getting, then you all of a sudden feel like you're just really kind of like standing on shaky ground, so to speak. So I'll be curious if they stick to what they played in week 1, or if they go back to that Gecko again.
Well, it's time to find out if they're going to change anything at all. If the Gecko is going to stay the same, if the Yoru is going to stay the same, as we get to jump into the agent select. And I'm really interested, because map 3, these two teams have really shown their strengths today, and we get to see the compositions. Yeah, Paint is going to be on the Yoru. On the other side, Brock is going to be on that Gecko. It's time for the map 3, and once again, the match is here, guys.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I think it is obviously interesting going without the Gecko on this map. I think you really want to get a lot of value from Trailblazer. It gives you early info towards you. Hall, for example, and you can clear hookah much more effectively, I think.
Absolutely.
For Gecko, again, once you're out in the open, once you're actually hitting these sites, especially if it's like through a defensive Viper wall, Dizzy feels a lot better. And I think those thrash rounds can be really big, especially on A, because you can run a full route with Thrash and be able to recover that, right? You can cycle him through U-Haul and back through the site and sort of pick him up once more. I think that the Brimstone ultimate is actually going to be huge, because if you can deny the Wingman plant here by just orbital striking him into oblivion, sorry, Wingman fans, that immediately disrupts like what the attackers are trying to set up, and it's it can force them into like a compromising position. Now all of a sudden they actually have to present on the site, they have to face down, and they need to plant it manually.
Yeah, and the other side of it, kind of looking at this from the defensive perspective for Thinking Men, is without the ability of kind of hunting out extra info or being able to control extra space by way of things like the Mosh or the Dizzy, is that you have to make kind of a one, or like it's like there's no gray area allowed. You have to make a black or white decision. Do we want to play proactive defensively and try to take away space by force of nature, or do we want to try to like keep a very passive gate crash to allow Yoru to just go back and forth between the sites, whichever needs him the most, in which case you're playing a very reactive style of defense. So I'll be curious to see what Thinking Men have been able to brew up, because defensively, they were not particularly great versus YFP. They definitely have historically found way more value on the offensive side of this map, even dating back to their qualifiers. So that is, I think, maybe a bit of a question mark. And it does come with an added bonus of this is a newish composition for them, where they need to try to iron out some of the issues that they had from a couple of weeks ago to be a bit more formidable and show us why this Yoru is more of a staple pick for them here on the map.
And on the other side, MXS have not lost bind yet in challenges. First, they went up against Core and they had a 13-11 win, or that was more recently, excuse me. First, it was against Oxygen Esports. But hey, if we're going off of maps that they beat Oxygen Esports on, then they'll get trashed on this one like they did on Split. So bear that in mind. No team on any map is a monolith here in challenges. Every week, we see these seismic shifts in performance, as evidenced by our first map in this series. It'll be MXS starting with the attacking side, and Scrubblebub there sort of exposed himself to a lot of early damage, but I like the pinch coming up A short here. The best Otoshima can get is that trade.
The thing is, you do have Paint in a position to, I was going to say, maybe try to follow quickly through this play up towards mid, but it's actually Scrubblebubble who gets there first. So really good stuff. Now Paint misses out maybe on a freebie, but Reformed right behind will get the counter trade. Fly up 1v2, and he knows the Spike is in a very precarious space. Not much you can do here besides maybe try to have a little flash pop to see if the classic will work, but it's a double stack high-low here for Reformed and Paint. One shoulder will likely be all you need. There's the flash, and nope, Paint will be there to follow up on the elimination. No worries there. Pistol one again by Thinking Men.
Awkward timing there for the Sky to have to bail herself out of a 1 versus 2. Yeah, I mean, great round by Scrubblebubble, honestly. Despite taking a ton of damage early in the round, for some reason, I think Otoshima takes contact inside that poison orb there. Great little push up A short, though. It happens a few moments before that. Yeah, just like how that engagement between the Vipers goes. But great to get 2 kills and hold on to Hookah there. That is huge. And are we just taking a tech pause after every round?
Yeah, that's the Scrubblebubble effect. Just happens, but gives the teams a little bit of a chance to kind of get themselves centered.
I bet these guys regret signing up with these names in challenges, realizing that not only could they not change them, but we had to call them that.
Correct. There's also that. Yep, 100%.
Anderson, you brought this on yourself, brother.
He really has brought this out upon himself. The other interesting thing going into this series, now that we're through 5 of our 6 pistols, Moe Shopify has been the best team with pistols outside of, honestly, oddly enough, the Glazers. Both teams coming into this week are 7-3 in pistol rounds, and so far, Thinking Men have absolutely utilized some advantages here, kind of turning that against them in a way. So good stuff for Thinking Men. Again, just looking at the micro as well as the macro. Again, their split polish from 1 week to the next, great. Their pistol has continued to improve throughout all 3 weeks. And that's just what you like to see from a team that's at the bottom of the leaderboard currently trying to make moves. Again, it was a hard opening schedule for them. So you kind of either get thrown to the gauntlet and you get eaten up by it, or you find ways to learn from it. And it looks like it's definitely been the latter for Thinking Men. They've been pretty solid.
Yeah, genuinely started to really forge them into quite the unit.
Yeah,
I like the first map. The second map, though, showed some glaring problems, some serious issues. Not that MXS are avoiding scrutiny at all. I definitely think there'll be accountability for what happened there on Split for them. We expect this map to be just a little bit closer here, a little bit more chaotic, perhaps at times. And again, next couple rounds, we're going to start to see the role that Paint wants to take here. For now, it's just over towards A as we have a fast push towards Hookah here for MXS.
Yeah, at least some show of force, right? Just comes down to how much they actually commit here versus just wanting to win this position and then resetting it another way. Fake teleport through. That fools absolutely nobody. But the flash to follow at least should confirm maybe one, if not two. Problem is, Lear is going to have to just burst his way through this. And, well, actually, the damage is decent. Just not enough to find any kills. Now he's in a little bit of trouble. And that will be enough for him to get taken down by the right click. Also, the Dizzy finding effective value up at Scrubble Bubble, and that may lead to a free plant.
That's a great Dizzy. Scrubble Bubble was in such a good spot to actually receive the push out of Hookah, but in fact, gets taken down. Pain here has to try and find a way through two different types of mollies. Eventually, he'll get his pound of flesh. 2v3 now. Vic, though, emerges at just the right time. The spray, there was a bit wayward. It at least is a trade. Brock is there to respond. Paints that on the other side, and some right clicks should get the job done. Brock, so close. But no cigar here is thinking men will secure that anti-eco.
Anything but the classic, he probably wins it. It's unfortunate. But hey, still punishing nonetheless for the anti-eco. This will very much so restrict what Thinking Men can purchase going into this quote-unquote bonus. I would figure that it's probably also just be pistol upgrades, maybe one other SMG, but largely speaking, this will be a lopsided economy for MXS moving into round number 3. And that's another staple, by the way, just kind of looking back over MXS, kind of historically over this map. They love the quick hit, love to get the spike planted. And like we continue to harp on from previously in the other two maps, they are very successful either when finding first blood or playing in healthy numbers on post-plant situations. So lots of things here for Thinking Men to consider jumping into this very tricky third round.
Oh, okay, that's pretty decent info about that forward showers positioning. Vic already takes the player out of Hookah. Not sure what Scrubble was hoping for there. And I think Flyer gets a ton of info as well. This will definitely make MXS think twice about this A push.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of commitment off this play, though. I'm actually surprised that MXS is just trying to burst in towards Hookah after that kill onto Scrubble Bubble. But playing a little cautious just in case there's a judge, that could definitely be part of it. Stingers are also, you know, meta right now, and a lot of conversation about that. So Thinking Men will get away with what was largely a hard gamble towards that A showers push. Now they can reset defensively. Gatecrash can get Yoru back in towards spawn, or he can take the teleport. And you've also got the information on Lear. That's enough for the thrash. No way Lear gets out of that. Perfect execution. Very clean.
They couldn't spend the last flash that they had for Flyer on clearing Hookah. The thrash apparently is an economical option. Fair enough.
It sure is.
Now they'll take contact here. Pain's able to find a quick double with that Sheriff. But not enough to keep spirits and economy of MXS down. They'll get it on the board here. And like you mentioned, it was a lopsided bonus. Thinking Men only took one gun out of round 2.
But I do like the commitment, like you mentioned. The Boombot is the first thing to gain infill. You don't have a flash to try to go into it. And you don't know if there's a judge in that corner. So just use the thrash, confirm the round, come away with 3 rifles. Don't leave anything up to possible antics and nonsense. So clean from MXS. Now, here's where things will start to get interesting for Thinking Men. On the full purchase, sure. But how do they choose to spend the dimensional drift for paint? Because you can use it to essentially just dominate one side of the map immediately, or you can use it as a way to confirm what the retake will look like if you want to play off of what will potentially be like a conceded plant to MXS. We'll see how it goes.
Vic's just avoided that sky flash inside shower there. So that's just going to force utility out, because the MXS don't really know. They know there's a brim molly, so they have to assume there's something to clear here.
Wow.
Hey, that's beautiful. Absolutely love that. Might have cut down through the smoke. And MXS have barely got in a position to actually push onto A before losing a player.
Yep, and if you want to know the reasons on why this Thinking Men team has swapped away from playing the Gecko and Yoru into now forfeiting that for the Sky, it's that play right there. Be able to throw things through the teleporter, let your Yoru push through, find a kill, Gatecrash back to safety. It's a free first blood. Only thing is Showers has been given away, but that is voluntary. Boombot trying to recontest, and that's enough for the spam to eventually land, and MXS are now stuck trying to make their way onto site.
We have no A-Short presence at all for MXS. There's the one-way Viper smoke there, so there's nothing Odashima can really do, but we've kind of wait it out. Winning that challenge is important, but it's still a 2 versus 4. Broke away with spray, able to correct it at just the right time. Able to find a second there. Reformed is down. The double swing, though, into Showers is good. This leaves Odashima now 1v2. Post plant, to be fair. You can always just swing this wall. See, the setup there is pretty good. And yep, Odashima did not have a 1v1 angle setup.
Still a pretty punishing round, though, all things told, for MXS. Just being able to get a couple of collection kills near the end, what looked to be a flawless retake on the way for Thinking Men after the 5v4 was set up early. But
block the enemy's line of sight.
Again, MXS individually, they are not to be trifled with. They can find ways to manage 1v2 situations, making the unthinkable more plausible. And the other instance, we haven't talked a lot about this. I haven't heard this conversation a lot. The value that you get out of Gecko is how freaking fast you earn the ultimate back up. Brock, with the continual plants, already has a second Thrash in round freaking 5. So the 7 and 3 helps, but the extra plants that have come through have definitely aided towards that quick charge. And this creates another issue here for Thinking Man. I mean, you really can't commit the Viper's Pit this round because the Thrash can just clear it by itself.
They're going fast here. That Mosh Pit now makes it hard to get out of U-Haul without taking a bit of damage there. Yeah, Scrabble Bub caught on the wrong side of it. Gets caught by the Thrash as well. Detained, but able to slink away. She'll be able to shrug this off, but you've given U-Haul over. Vix has done very well to take contact and find the first player, but there's more where that came from. Plant down, Wingman gets the job done. Paint gets taken down inside Showers, and Viper's Pit defensively being considered here, but no chance for Scrubble Bub to make use of it. A 2 versus 2 in the post plant, though. MXS are set up with both Molly agents.
But the thing is, they have no idea that Lear's playing off this back angle. He's going to find the gun and the kill for free. That sets up the post-plant Molly to be completely awry. Otoshima by himself. The 1v1 Trailblazer dealt with, and now he can reposition around this. Oh, how smart is this from Otoshima? Lear would have to win an unreal 1v1, and he does! Right through the poison screen. It looked like Otoshima was predicting maybe a U-Haul setup, but Lear just pushes right through, clears out the close cubby, and then the long-range 1v1 with the Phantom connects for the headshot and the 4th round for Thinking Man.
Backstab so huge there. The fact that he passes through the toxic screen with vulnerable and still able to win out that fight is pretty massive here. Yeah, this is the chaos that happened inside U-Haul, but I mean, this is that backstab kill. Vix, I guess the purpose of that smoke is to make sure there's only one place they could be defusing from. Tries to stick it, it's cute, but again, you have the capacity to take that risk when you know you've got a player on a flank angle.
Well, on top of that, that's just great awareness from Thinking Man as well, knowing that the Thrash is spent to clear out U-Hauls. The MXS are going to run through that and try to recollect it again. So they spend a lot of resources to make that more contestable. And there is that moment of, I won't say luck, but a bit of blessing that there was that quick judge swap that got punished. Oh, nice flash. Doesn't matter. What? Wait, how does he not get traded here? Hello? No traders? Okay.
I think Reformed was playing back behind the Molly initially, but I don't know why he didn't move up to swing that down.
I got the spike.
I think he was too close to the corner. Maybe the angle wasn't quite favorable.
Yeah, you just think that after the blind spot gets sent that you're just going to double swing that, but all right. Small mistake.
Viper's Pit be long here. To say nothing of what you can do coming out of Hookah. My goodness, that's a lot of util you're getting hit by up on that side. Somehow, Lee's able to get away. Hiding now inside the orb. Pushing through container, but to find 1 and 2. Oh, that's stunning. The fact that you get out of that side hit and find 3 after the fact. Ridiculous.
It feels a little like Split, doesn't it, Mitch? Yeah. I mean, it's just another moment where all of the breakdown, if you were to just take like an overview, eagle's eye snapshot of the site, all the utility lands in the right spot. Mosh clears out Octagon. The Viper's Pit means that, well, okay, Scrubble Bubble has to be sitting out towards B long. You got a player to make sure he doesn't try to push back over through Hookah, so like that's covered. You've got perfect smoke placement, perfect flashes coming into the site, but Lear just slips into one of the 5 smokes that are down, and MXS just can't find him. In this timeout, it again feels like one of those head-scratching moments where it's just like, it feels like we're doing the right things, but we're just not quite able to convert on where these players are sneaking away to. And then as soon as the Mosh expires at Octagon, that's enough for Scrubble Bubble to come back to the play, and it's another 2v5 on site, essentially, that you just kind of chalk up to the fact that we let players get into smoke. I don't really know how else to break that down.
I mean, again, Leo gets flashed twice in quick succession. Yeah. Guiding light and then Dizzy, and still able to get into a great position. And I love the timing window as people are focusing on the player at elbow. You've just exploded out of container. I'd be calling a timeout here as well. MXS probably need to slow things down a little bit because they've really spent through all of their money. I mean, they've had a very quiet time. They sort of save up. They're able to turn gun round. They have like a decent buy sort of following that, and then a half buy in the last round, but ugly.
And this is another thing, just to kind of keep the conversation going for what we were talking about earlier. Paint going onto the Yoru or Form playing onto the Raze takes away the focus and priority that your Raze has to be the one to create your space. So you don't have to worry about that being the one player to find eliminations, to find kills, to find success breaking into sight. Where so far on the other side, Mata's been the one trusted to be one of the first ones in, and he has not had the same success that you would have anticipated, but he was able to carry from Breeze. There's a lot of things you have to clear, a lot of things you have to check. So it's just a difference in identity and mentality of what we want to do compositionally and where we kind of thrust a lot of our weight towards. And for now, Thinking Men are getting away with it.
Time to jump.
Payne here just setting up another gate crash just in case.
What?
Okay. All right. That was from Evan. Beautiful stuff. Payne able to pull out there as the flash came in. He knew he would not be able to win that fight out. We do have an orbital strike ready for the invariable plant attempt. That will be denied.
That's just one of those moments. It's kind of like pre-firing through smoke. You just catch him on a corner. Molly to follow. Yep, Brock has to give it away. Paint Shells does create some space here. Keep your eye on Fly. He may decide to chalice, but yeah, perfect counter. Dimensional Drift comes through, and this should confirm for Thinking Men what this entire setup looks like.
Wingman recovered. And out to be used again. Brock, nicely done. Maybe he just tickled the spike and instead picked up Wingman earlier on. That's nicely done, actually. And even with Dimensional Drift, you kind of give that info over. You're out of the util to interrupt that. Now into the post plant. 4v5.
Still have Orbital Strike, Mitch. This is still winnable.
Fix down. Oh, hang on a minute. Fly gonna swing here. Right around those boxes. The Brock has the other angle there from you. Lear able to find just the one, but at this point, you've got players all around you. Marta spots him. Lear knows he's there. Is there going to be a trade here from the other direction? Somehow Lear's able just to get the 1 versus 1 because the spike, of course, is where all the attention is. Vic set the molly up and Lear comes through the TP in 2 halves.
Wow. I mean, just based on the resources and the weaponry, of course, I think we're all going in with the expectation that Thinking Men have the advantage. But on top of that, you have things like the Dimensional Drift, the Orbital Strike. You had so many tools available for Thinking Men defensively, and they spend every single freaking one of them, including the showstopper, to retake the site. And it doesn't end up coming successful. And I won't lie, there's a miscoordination in there for Thinking Men. You Dimensional Drift, you confirm that there are 3 people on the A site. You still have 2 defenders, not just around B, they were in B. So you had no one pushing through Hookah, no one pushing through Sand to try to create some issues through Market. And now MXS have full weapons after the successful Thrifty, and they're winning the initial engagements absolutely perfectly through. Oh man, small mistake leading to massive outcomes here as Thinking Men are left just down to 1.
Yeah, I mean, this round blew out in a big way there. Not much to write home about. Thinking Men tried a bit of a thrust up A short. MXS, as it seems like they always are, were ready for it. And maybe, I guess, in the previous round, Thinking Men like worried about like a TP dive play and have the, you know, the side switch to B, but seems a little implausible.
They still had so many tools available. They still had Showstopper. Like, there's just so many ways they could have broken back through. I don't know. That's a round that they're going to look back on and say woulda, coulda, shoulda, I think. That round right there, pretty much a non-contest from the word go. So, timeout the other side, most likely here for Thinking Men, trying to stave off and cauterize the wounds that have come through for MXS. And again, there's really not really many glaring issues. It just comes to a couple of mid-round adjustments and calls that just haven't quite been there. I think the way that they're using Payne has been ultimately successful. You know, him and Lear together have found a lot of activity, and a lot of it has gone their way. Maybe one of those things you kind of try to see, can we get more value out of Scrubble Bubble? Because at the moment, it's just been kind of placing utility and hoping that that's enough to deter hits. But we've seen the hits towards B go right through the Viper setup and really not have too much cause for concern. So I'll be curious to see if they're going to try to maybe invest, you know, maybe more resources towards this short mid play rather than trying to commit almost the kitchen sink in towards showers or be long. That has to be maybe the only real cause for concern here, because largely speaking, the setup on paper has looked fine. It's just been what they've done in these post plant situations that's been a bit of miss.
Yeah, it's quite complicated though, because there are a lot. There's a real sequence and priority of like the utility to use either to try and secure a plant or disrupt it there.
Yeah, agreed.
We were watching from, I think, Vix's perspective, right, as he was tasked with bringing down the wingman plant. The fact that Brock's able to get onto the site, fake it, pick the wingman up, run off, force out more util, and then know he gets a free wingman plant after that. Like, that's something that's like pretty well done. I don't know if Thinking Men were sort of on that wavelength.
And there is a bit of difference. Again, we don't expect this to be a game-changing round here. Decoy comes through. So what? Who cares for MXS? Nice to see you. Nice to know that the Yoru is still playing over towards A.
Right here.
And, well, the Hookah play will be deterred by the Poison Cloud. So this is curious because MXS are going to be hard committed over towards Octagon, and there is a Viper's Wall plus Lear with a decent amount of utility to try to stall this out.
I think you should tell you all you need to know here.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, that Yoru does not have a gate crash, I think, over a B. So Payne's got a long walk ahead of him. Again, the guns aren't great here for Thinking Men. and you get onto the site pretty easily. Again, just double smoke it out, expect some action from Elbow, but that's also been covered. MXS get a nice post plant in a much better, I guess, equipped scenario.
Yeah, they have to retake Elbow here if they want to have a chance at this round. There's just no other way about it. And yep, Mata's aware of that and even steps a bit further forward, and that will likely be the round unless someone pops off from inside the site. Well, we're in that same conversation pool here, Mitch, where it's just Mata starting to feel himself just a touch. A couple of decent exchanges, though. Does keep this a little bit more restricted towards the repurchase, but all things told, MXS very comfortable in the round.
And this is kind of what we expected, right? A pretty back and forth bind.
Remember to talk to each other out
just
there.
again, it's how powerful these current strategies are, whether it's the Yoru or the Gecko-based setup here. And you mentioned how Paint and Scrabble Bubble are actually finding a fair bit of success. The latter often just trying to play in ratty positions in hookah and be really hard to shake loose. So much so that they're using a whole thrash to try and force the Viper out of that part of the map because they're a little, I guess they're a flashlight, or they're just not inclined to make use of them so early in the round to try and clear hookah.
Yeah. The interesting thing, though, about this round number 10, this is an important one, mind you, in terms of who wins this first half. Operator in hands for Reform playing through Shower. So now defensively that you've got that angle, you can commit kind of like stacking the box defensively towards other angles. And I'm a bit surprised they're not really doing it here towards mid. They're just trusting that smoke cover will be enough to deter any offensive play. And then Paint would be there to make contact and gate crash back. So this is a strange setup defensively for Thinking Men, but MXS will not know that the wild card is the big stick for Reform.
Here, Thrash is going to see nothing. Oh, okay, love that. Again, play up on those extremities, wait for contact. That's a free kill with the operator. Again, a little bit harder to make use of it, I think, once you're set up in Showers, in a post plant. A great start.
But the thing about this is MXS cannot set their post plant up behind in towards mid anymore. They have to play on top of site, and this is exactly what you do when that is your forced hand. You get forward, you take away the connector, and like you said, you force this operator to have to hit shots.
Now they can back the U-Ball here. Oh, okay, it still gets a bit nasty. Flyer calls that out. Trouble Bub is actually quite problematic here for MXS in the post plant. Okay, Reform pushed off the angle. It's not pure contact here because MXS rather have the utility. Force the operator off the angle so you get that one kill, but it's still a weird spot to be with that gun in a post plant.
Great decision making for MXS. Step forward into that defense. If they're committing the operator through Showers and beyond with that elimination deep over towards the cave system, and you don't know what's towards hookah, you absolutely have to play through the truck on site. And that's an absolutely brilliant call from MXS. It just forces a very difficult position for Thinking Men. And that's now, what, 4 rounds in a row for MXS. Really gaining some momentum here, and more importantly so for Thinking Men. I mean, you're kind of limited on what you could buy here. For the most part, you should be able to afford at least a half buy, and that will put you into a contestable spot for round 12 where you're going to have a lot of ultimates behind it. But yeah, MXS is really starting to get a read on what Thinking Men are trying to do, and they're punishing them for their mistakes.
It's all off the back of this, like Pistol Stinger retake on the A side as well, like an unlikely round to win.
Yeah, that Thrifty was a huge difference maker in this half without question. Good call.
Standard shenanigans start of the round. Clone makes his crossing. Rourke here, waiting for a bit of action because, again, Scrabble Bubble has been trying to vary his setups here. Start of the round. This time not working his way out of hookah, not ratting in there either. It looks like Thinking Men are gambling for A.
And why not? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you've got great follow-up potential just based on the composition you're running. The only big difference this time is that for the first time, Thinking Men may actually try to contest this A mid since what? That gun round where it was over in 20 seconds? That's the only real difference maker here, and apparently MXS have gotten some idea that this could be a play. They're going to use the wingman to clear out hookah with a Dizzy to follow, so they're playing this all through hookah, and there is just not enough members defensively to even come close to dealing with this.
Thinking Men cheated Scrabble Bubble over into Elbow at the very least. They will have some presence here. Do they try and pull out? Not after that, that's for sure. Reformed able to get up short there with the Stinger. Dizzy available. Wingman, of course, back on deck now for MXS.
30 seconds left.
In they go. Player in Elbow. Remember, I mentioned that earlier. Scrabble Bub was the individual. Gets taken out instantly by Mata. Rourke here doesn't want to play too aggressive, but opts instead to give up hookah.
Yeah, this is another one of those. You got the Viper's Pit, so you step into it. Good response, though, from Pain. Clear making it a bit more difficult, but well done by Brock. Just staying so far away from the madness and then eventually able to tally where exactly Thinking Men were coming from. It's just one of those rounds that kind of feels similar to the last one, just on the opposite site. You don't really know what's coming from behind you, but you've got so many resources you can spend towards the front. Sure, the Viper Pit doesn't stay as long as you'd like it to, but it creates so much one-dimensional angles that THNK have to push through that all you got to do is trade and then hope your player on the outside gets a read on whoever's left over, and Brock perfectly identifies it.
MXS looking to continue their trend of 7-5 halves on this map. That's all they've had at halftime so far in Challengers. Great recovery to put 5 in a row together. And that play from Brock there really nicely, considering giving up Hookah to have a weird little off angle on the side. They're fighting Showers in a big way. Reform never to win out there against Mata, and Brock not really in a position to interject.
Yeah, that's almost one of those causes where Mata's like, let me take the focus away from the other members that are here so we don't get three-pieced by this showstopper, because it was absolutely beautifully countered. So he just kind of bursts his way into sight, and it forces Reform to have to spend it on him. So maybe reducing the damage a touch, but regardless, THNK men give themselves the numbers advantage. They just aren't really able to hold on to shower control. But with the Viper's Pit controlling B long, you've got one member holding over towards the hookah steps. Everything else in U-Haul. Brock would have to connect a Thrash here for MXS to gain entry to either site.
Otoshima slowly. Obviously, he really lacks the util to clear this outside of the snake bite, and that would give him away. So he chances it. In he goes. Some of the util being dropped down on B here. He really wants to keep these two THNK players on that B side. Elsewhere, here comes Thrash, like you mentioned. Looking for the Yoru potentially with that own trip to close corner. Leah's going to come out with one, but
what?
Okay, Thrash has got some extra legs today. Must have had his Wheaties. Brock now able to explode out from Showers, and this will be a safe post plant on A. And Otoshima has done more than just keep these THNK players at B. He's even able to go 1-for-1 with them. We're rotating into this side. Brock is coming to B.
Oh my God.
What?
Are you kidding me? The teleporter must have been heard flat out, because all the chaos that came through after the Thrash led to a quick connection through the teleporter. And we'll have to see it again, because as this moment, you start to think there's no way. But that kill from the Viper, instead of trying to isolate into two different 1v1s, they don't know where the defensive Brimstone is. And so they try to make a move to where they can get together. And the only way you do that with that time is to take the teleporter over to play a 2v1 on B. But Vix gets the isolated 1v1. And then immediately, as soon as I imagine he hears the teleporter, just lays the ground. And you think that that is enough to ignite the round to go the favor, but not to be. Brock comes out, finds the kill, takes it to a 7-5 half instead of the 6-6. That's crazy.
That is pretty wild. Yeah, eventually you've got to make a decision. And more information about the B side, I suppose. Hey, we'll probe here. There's no Showers presence, barely any A presence at all here for MXS, who've gambled a B hold.
Well, the numbers will be here for both sides. We're going to get a very chaotic ghost v ghost setup here. I mean, Lear's trying to create noise, but this isn't fooling MXS at all. They hear the little tippy-tappy toes, and now the counter flash to come through. They're going to challenge this orb pickup. Decent, though, from THNK men. They go 3 for 1 until Vix steps in. No way he trades this out fully. Nearly does. But Vix will stay alive, and now Otoshima's by himself.
I like the idea, right? Interrupt that, you know, the team's setting up around the orb, getting ready for the execute. Vix is low, to be fair, but that will be remedied briefly by Leah. And Otoshima has to win on 1v3. Has had less opportunity to get these gainful lurks today. Matt Paul contributing to that to some degree.
Sure, yep.
Again, when Otoshima on Lotus, that first game here for this team, he was lurking solo, getting 2 for 1s quite easily.
He gets the poison. He gets the poison cloud collection just to separate this, just a touch. It's still a very difficult 1v3, but gives himself a chance. But again, 15 things to look at, and tries to predict the bench play, not where the setup was. So THNK men, 3 for 1 exchange over towards B long, the difference maker. It looked like Vic was about to just single-handedly trade it all back to even numbers, just not quite.
The MXS's pistol record is getting absolutely savaged today.
Yeah. Is that all 6? Go to THNK men?
Yep. Pretty sure. At least 5? I think MXS win the pistol round on 6 out of 6. Oh my god. Yep. They've lost every pistol round today. Crazy.
That's wild. That's wild.
Oh, buddy. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, they've still been able to get a pretty decent result so far in this series, despite that small wrinkle Now will be more distributed across the map. We've actually, got pretty close holding players in A short and outside of hookah.
Yeah, and again, just talking about the agent compositional differences, Thinking Men will have a little bit of a tougher time stretching this defense out until we start to see things like the dimensional drift from the Yoru. That's when things get really hairy. But for these openings, you don't have the ability of like throwing a wingman in just to clear. And a lot of pressure goes the way of Reform to kind of take that mantle as, a secondary initiator, so to speak, next to Lear.
Trouble Bob. The ball's about to come down here. Marta, though, with that timing, is just able to take a step or two back. We're down to 47 seconds here. There's got to be a commitment at some point, but Thinking Men have not been able to garner much information about the layout of the defenders here on the map. Trailblazer, though, will look to remedy that as well, but love the paint shot response. He approximately knows where this guy is standing, channeling that ability.
Well, the thing about this is all just essentially a fake, and whoa, anything that Paint finds before the teleporter is massive. The fact he gets 2, though, is absolutely incredible. Now the little high-low play, absolutely nothing that MXS can do with this buy to contest. Plant will come through, and Vic, I'm sure, will either just play for exits or sacrifice his life to the spike.
Oh yeah, more so the latter, I'm sure of it. Try and find some action before it's all over here. Thinking Men done a great job again converting on that pistol round this time. MXS, though, after a really great comeback in the second half, it's just kind of mental to me that they are so often having to do that, to come back to play from behind today. That is really going to take its toll. Luckily, they have the mental fortitude to get them there after a very convincing map 2.
Yep.
But this is the decider.
Job well done here, though. I mean, you're going to have a really formidable bonus for Thinking Men. Oh, this? Okay, well.
It's Vic.
I'm telling you, man, between like Vic and Proto, like there is not a unwinnable situation. You feel like when those two guys are left alive.
T-Dog as well.
Yeah, T-Dog's a good shout, dude. Unreal. That is stupid that he gets 2.
And again, it's a bright spot for MXS over just a rough couple of rounds after they made the play on the pistol round to swing a Viper wall with the Sky Flash, and it looked pretty good until, well, they did not hit their opponents. Paint able to find a couple big ones there. So that's a matter of the past now, as many of these rifles have been able to be bought up. Otoshima and Victo, as well as Flyer, only light shields.
Yep, and that, again, keeps this bonus to feel like it will be pretty sturdy. It's just one of those, would have loved to have had what you had last round instead of things like a Ghost. But we'll see. Quick isolation through U-Haul. Again, that same follow-up. Lear working with Paint just to clear space and confirm that space. That's the big difference maker. Simon will come through. Mashtra follow. That will re-clear on the flip side. Although Paint's going to step forward into this bold engagement, and it works out beautifully. Well done.
He's selling it. He's selling ice to Eskimos over there at A. In the meantime, Flyer flashing to B long. And they're pulling the spike out now with this penetration of Paint over on A. You can't blame them. MXS are walking into a lot of these predetermined holds from a Thinking Man.
Yep.
They do want to go towards A, and the one upside is that Vic has managed to get pretty deep through shower here.
Yeah, that is not just a minor thing, though, for MXS. This is huge, especially if you can isolate this 1v1. Wow, what a prediction from Vix. That opens the door completely. Spike will go down, and to break this up, you've got a Boombot and a Trailblazer. That is all that's left to clear space in the face of Scrubble Bubble still holding on to one Snakebite.
Okay, clearing U-Haul, though, is a big deal. We are going to be able to have Flyer move up behind that. We are in full post-plant mode here with really no util to disrupt this setup on the defender side.
Hello?
Okay. It's good. We're good. It's okay. I was starting to freak out. Vix here, subject to the paint shells. Would have been an ignoble end, and he cleverly just takes that high ground position, but we're running out of time, Marta.
It's halfway, though.
Give it a tickle.
Snakebite.
Scrubble Bubble, unlikely to present any opportunity here for Marta. One more tickle, but the Stinger gets the job done. And Thinking Men convert on the bonus.
If only just barely. But converting the bonus, regardless of how many players survive or what it looked like, it's one of those like no pictures on the scorecard thing. That's still going to feel good. But wow, they almost threw that away. I thought that the stick was going to be good enough because that molly was thrown maybe a fraction too late. It's just fortunate that through the toxic screen, the pre-fire shots did land because that was half a second away. and that molly was not getting down in time. But all of a sudden, because the bonus does get one, like you mentioned, rifles in hand, 8-7 tally, looking primed for 9 with good ultimates available here for Thinking Men. If they get contacted here, this might be a quick hit through it. Wait, there is no... Okay, just a raw timing peak, right?
Yeah, with your Sky playing B, you're just really hoping to catch them on a timing there, but they do not have a chance. I think they're hoping a 2v1, like just this, like a solo Yoru probing in the showers.
Yeah.
They do not get that.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah. Well, you try something weird, you don't spend a whole lot. Flya's good. You have to do what Flya does, at least make it somewhat more punishing, but ultimately a moot point as the pockets are starting to get filled. 9-7 count. This is a critical, and I mean, this is probably the most critical round that we've had so far in this series right here. You've got key ultimates either available or being very close to being tallied. In particular, the orbital strikes are up, but both showstoppers are one away. The dimensional drift also at the ready here for paint. So this round, massive. If Thinking Men find a way to take it, they don't just get the double digits, they put MXS back onto a limited buy with their backs up against the wall. If MXS find a way to win it, it likely comes at the cost of a handful of ultimates on the other side, and you have a chance to flip the economy around and find a way to get back into the lead for the first time in a while.
Flyer, they're just taking a moment to contemplate the outside world and be reminded how much better it is in the VALORANT game. Again, MXS definitely need to have their focus on this next round. It's pivotal.
Yes.
Your buffer is about to completely disappear here. We've seen them do this before. We see them go on that 6-round run in the second half of the first half. But the fact that they have to kind of turn around and do this every half is going to be exhausting. It's been a long series for them, even though the first 2 games were relatively short in terms of total rounds. They've really been pressured here on buying.
Yep.
This is quite a good choice for a decider.
No, it really is. And again, to give yourself, I'll give you a little pat in the back. You called this one thinking that bind was going to be available for both these two teams to utilize either as a pick or the decider. And both of them have shared successes on it. For MXS, like you mentioned, they've been pretty much flawless on it. Tested, sure, sloppy last week in particular, but still found a way to win. On the other front, this is one of those flexible, variable compositions that Thinking Men have showcased in the past, and at times it's caused some great deterrence towards some teams. And jumping in the middle of this round, Dimensional Drift was spent early, and that's going to be committed to, but all the follow-up was just not here in time. The orbital strike through elbow doesn't really deter this defensive setup. We've got chaos all over the B site.
I mean, great composure there for Otoshima, but above, he has to see top right. The pop-up there with the showstopper. Eventually going to be brought down by Leah here. Reformed. Mata rather still holding on to the showstopper. Let it go now, and he connects. 1 versus 1. Mata has to win this round for MXS. No plant just yet. Mata in a decent spot, but he loses it out, and Leah takes 4 for the round. That might be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
It very well may be. And we jumped into it without really seeing what the setup was, but initially, just kind of give you the reaction, it looked like paint was about to be left out to dry. I mean, he got so deep off the dimensional drift and committed to it right as soon as the barriers dropped. I would have figured just a couple of smokes for support, but the rest of the team was held back. Hard to say what was spent just because we jumped into it after the execute had come through, but MXS give themselves a fighting chance considering the pressure. That orbital strike clearing out elbow just allowed Thinking Men to focus all their attention on towards site, and what was a problem for them on Breeze was not there this time. They were able to take care of the defenders, and now MXS forced to purchase up, and they get 2 early. Wow, that's massive.
That's such an odd derivation there from Thinking Men, or a deviation at least from how they like to open these rounds. Next there, though, eventually they're going to lose all of that Shower's presence entirely, but they are at least in these retake positions. Heaven and Vents. Decent damage here just through some of that spam by Brock. A flash here, but who follows up on this? There's Otoshima. The other end of the pincer comes on in. Leah is just a great job in very difficult circumstances. And now has to win a 1 versus 2. And that's just too much to ask.
Wow. Wow. Flat out wow. And it's another one of those rounds that you think it's just over before it starts, right? I mean, the 2 kills through showers you think is enough for MXS just to kind of take the round away, but the commitment call that really saves them is Otoshima leaving B and taking the long wrap around the back to at least follow up on what was essentially a retake of the site thanks to the isolation and trades that Thinking Men were able to provide through that shower position. We get a 3v3, but because of the 5-man dive on towards site, Otoshima uses the Dizzy perfectly to get himself 1 for free. And then after that, Lear's just kind of stuck without really anywhere to go on top of the site. So back to level terms we go again, not just in the economy, but on top of that, you have small bonuses in the mix with the Thrash being earned plus the Viper's Pit. To be fair, Scribble's just one away from one of his own, but the battle for Showers has been an intriguing one in the last couple of rounds.
And they're annoyed that Brim smoke. Paint does not care. Pushes through it behind the clone because it's the only chance he has to make use of it.
Wow.
Go get it.
So the Viper's Pit will be left to isolate
Toxins going up.
for MXS. The Boombot does get some clearance at Hookah, but all it really is serving a purpose of is to keep Flya planted. And Vic, I mean, you want to talk about bold? You're down numbers. You have to stay alive to hold A, and he does more than that. He trades back elimination, controls Showers out, and now Brock has gotten reconfirmation of U-Haul. This is MXS just again getting away with murder as the Thrash is now earned.
And it forces Thinkerman to play on the side itself. They can't take those A-short positions because they don't know if the Brim's behind them until about now, but it's too late. Draw here, try and take some contact outside of U-Haul, and Vic just shows he was down to 13 HP. Hard to win out from that position. Still no plant yet. Fly's been able to get deep onto the side, but there it is. Everyone absconds over towards the B side, and they leave the Brim inside the TP just in case there's hot pursuit.
Think about it, this Snakebite has stalled things out, and then there's a beautiful flash over the wall! Oh my goodness! Flya, quite literally, from downtown, guiding light pops just as the Snakebite fades, and Odashima cleans things up. Unbelievable!
You couldn't have asked for a better time for that to happen. Finally, Flyer able to stand up after having a quieter game, to be fair, but to stop Thinking Men in their tracks. And now there's genuine concern about whether Thinking Men can keep this pressure on economically. MXS are building a buffer. They get value out of the Thrash that round and the Viper's Pit, honestly. A good round to really leverage that ultimate lead you have. A few of them coming up here for Thinking Men, but none of them that'll be relevant this round.
Wow. I mean, that's sexy, flat out. Now all of a sudden Thinking Men, like you said, backs a little bit up against the wall, but there are so many things they have to worry about. I mean, the Showers battle has been persistent over the last handful of rounds, and both teams are still very cautiously taking their eyes towards it. But the thing that's been really puzzling for Thinking Men is how do we actually get U-Haul control when we don't have the dimensional drift available? So much utility has to be spent just to get through the corridor, let alone to flush out Brock. And it looks like they're trying to commit towards that, but this almost feels like a search for a pick and then push type setup for Thinking Men, because this is all just double force on both sides of the map.
They just Trailblazer, Sky Flashed, and Yoru cloned. So they hold on to some util. I love this timing. He's just stunning from Odashima. And now he can sit back and know he's done his job. This won't pull anyone away from A yet because there's more work to be done, and MXS want to play with their food a little more.
30 seconds left.
Spike sitting just outside Hookah. Flyer drop now down to the site to tuck into this corner. And MXS have very good positions for this hit.
Yeah, the only thing Thinking Men can really bank on right now is that someone overheats for MXS, but there's just no reason for it. They've gotten a perfect prediction with Vic already moving all the way through. He's cleared out A, and Thinking Men are just trying to save at this point. Scrub will be able to afford most of a weapon for someone in the next round, but with the cushion, like you mentioned, in the economy, MXS are trying to chase this out maybe, find a couple of kills. Vic not fully pushing through the caves, just clearing out market. Maybe he catches one here in the corner.
Shoot the bad guys.
No, not going to happen. So we get locked in at 10 apiece. Weapons will still be affordable here for Thinking Men, but not full purchase, and they're going to take a timeout to talk it through.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're able to save those 3 guns, right? Your 2 other teammates are in more awkward positions. They...
Yeah.
A little bit more stress. Scrubble Bubble, I think, can buy up here for one, maybe Paint or someone similar. But again, those ultimates to break the deadlock, none really there. I guess you could make a play for trying to get a Viper's Pit set up here, but again, the post plant, not so much the issue in the last couple of rounds for Thinking Men. They don't know to what degree Vic is going to invest in that Showers play, right? Now, with only one player, they don't feel comfortable even sort of pushing in there with the Yoru anymore because they don't know.
Right.
They lose the Yoru for free there. It really unravels their plans and makes them hard to feign positioning across the map.
Yep. And that's the reliance that they put into the Yoru composition. Like, that he has to be able to find that information. Otherwise, there's not a lot of extra tools towards confirming execution. So there's a lot to talk about here because there are some executable issues that have been happening in the last handful of rounds, but there's also the concern of the economy because technically speaking, you could just go into maybe a couple of pistol upgrades and then just save the rest of the eco. Otherwise, you're force buying for those last 2 players, and they've made the decision of essentially force buying into a Bulldog with a couple of light armors. And the only thing really off the table here is no Boombot purchase for Reformed, but everything else utility-wise will be afforded into. So pretty full force just outside of the couple light armors, but you lose this round if you're thinking, man, you're looking at trying to send this thing to OT.
They can clear, like U-Haul, and a lot of these angles with the util they already have. So, Boombot, not a huge deal. Down they go. They know what's going on in U-Haul here, MXS. They're really going to get some pressure. There's that molly. Victor has the off angle, must have just swung towards the front of the site there. Mata shows himself, probably didn't need to. Brock will back up now after replenishing some of that util.
Paint dropping is, again, the same issue that we've had over the last handful, where there's just not an entry into A through mid. And with the battle that continue to be taxing over towards showers, it just limits the opportunities and options. So now thinking man have to commit to a 3v2 and then make it now a 3v3 on site towards B, where there's just so much delay. And this round is essentially already over because Vic is going on his usual antics of pushing through A. It's just that same issue of how do you clear out U-Haul if you're not going to fight through shower continues to be a bother for thinking man.
The spikes and hookah, you're not going A. You are absolutely committed to this site.
100%.
Throw the smokes down. That's triple smoke, of course, towards the back of sight and elbow. Fire with the 2 double swing, though, and yep, Otoshima is going to be good for it. And all of a sudden, MXS have gotten themselves once more into the lead.
Well, you see how the issue continues to compound. They're not able to confirm U-Hauls much anymore. I mean, back at the opening parts of this half, Paint would just kind of teleport his way into his U-Haul. He would use a Trailblazer to confirm that space, but the difference has been MXS, and Brock in particular, has just voluntarily backed off of that. They're playing forward on the A site itself, and then they're just trapping Paint in sight. There's not an availability for any follow-up to come through. You use your utility to flush him out. You found a handful of free kills onto him, and then after that, because Thinking Men have bailed on the play through showers, there's just no options available. Yeah, post timeout, that's not what you want to see, and they're not going to bother to try to play for OT. It's a force buy here. This is the game.
Poison Orb down B long, but that won't be activated until there's some kind of contact. Could cut Yoru off the rest of his team if he's just going to take that gate crash, and he does. Paint's in trouble. At least able to find the 1 here, but that's all you're going to have. Yep. You trade up here as the defenders, and this is dire straits for Thinking Men.
It's the same issues just over and over again. I just think that they've avoided trying to play differently through A mid too soon. They've given up on that play a little bit too early. There's so many things that they had available to them to try to isolate, maybe even bait out some of the utility from Brock. Just has not happened. So you try to force a tempo change through B long, and the MXS defense was set up perfectly for it. The Viper's Pit, a mere inconvenience. It's going to be a 2-man hit over towards A, but MXS will be more than happy to play retake with numbers.
Look at the money. I'm Thinking Men.
Oh, yeah, this is it. This is
They're in trouble. Vix will tentatively make his way over towards Cubby. Spike to follow. This is all contact all the time here. Leah does not have any flashes left. Trailblazer is all well and good. At least they don't have to fear a flank here. See, Scrubble Bubble's timing is staggered as he's just joining them in A short now. Seekers will tell them all they need to know about where Vic is set up, and now we're seeing Brock get involved here from spawn. Here we go. All right, it's on for young and old.
And this is it. The double snake bite has to find value. Dizzy is going to clear out the first part of this, but the defense is going to have to move very rapidly in that 1v1 through showers. Absolutely massive, because now Scribble Bubble has to essentially commit both of these snake bites, not knowing if the commitment's going to come through shower or not. Brock was likely going to get this to half. And he's just going to stick. Wait, if he's not hit in time? Doesn't matter. Kill comes through. MXS will get 12, and there is no economy here for Thinking Men at all.
This is disastrous for Thinking Men. God, think of how they started this half. You won 6 pistols today, brothers.
Yep.
5 rounds on the trot. Win the bonus, win the gun, cruising through. But MXS refused to die, refused to go down. Brock is having a fantastic game. We've obviously seen Marta factor quite heavily here. In this round, they might play a double swing for showers. And if Paint's taking a risk here, if they're going for it, this could blow up in Thinking Men's face, especially.
Yeah.
Look at their buy. It kind of sucks.
It's not great, to say the least, but they do have the dimensional drift, so they should be able to safely clear out showers. I say that with hesitation because Paint may get caught here. Oh my
Is
Lanta.
no trade possible?
Surely not. Oh no!
Paint, please!
no!
Oh. Okay. It's cooked now. 4 plays left for thinking men to work with. Otoshima frustratingly now, as he varies his positioning, is inside that hookah spot. No B long presence though for MXS.
Blinded.
It just doesn't matter. You've got hookah control, especially if Otoshima can just find one. He's even shooting bodies midway through. Nice! Not like this! Oh, bro! This was such a winnable series for Thinking Men. And just when things start to get a little bit, I would even say like cause for concern, it's just like a couple of things go wrong, and then MXS just turn into their usual selves and dominate.
Oh my goodness. What
mercy.
What a way to drop it. That is so brutal, Shift. Very good showing from MXS to be able to stabilize, to be able to recover. The fact that Otoshima can shoot a body and still, you know, pick off the player trying to trade off the kill is just, at that point, like, you can basically do whatever you want in game. Wonderful, wonderful showing. I mean, yeah, very, very difficult. I mean, this is a team that really has to fight themselves out of a corner every single map, this MXS roster. I mean, you know, like, losing all the pistols aside, that's fine, that happens, but like looking at the way Split went, looking at the way that, you know, Breeze sort of started, looked like it could have been a problem. I don't know. Dryad, really very hard game to sum up here.
30 seconds left.
I was going crazy. I was writing down pretty much every single round, because every single round we had so many things go down, so many things happen. But when that happens, you also know it's just one of those rounds and one of those maps that go down to the details. And at the end of the day, it was Moist Shopify, the ones that in the details were able to shine the most at the end to close it out. And it has to, I know Thinking Man has taken a couple losses already, but this one has to hurt the most. Shift, it was so close.
Yeah, and you know, the interesting thing here, look down at the timeline. 5 out of 7 post plants for the side of Thinking Men, all 5 of them came in the first essential 5 rounds of the half. The problem was that U-Haul shower battle, which just became too taxing for Thinking Men. And it did feel like for a moment there, the MXS were just going to allow there to be some battle of utility. Know that you've got the ability to re-clear better than your opponents by way of the Gecko, by way of things like Fly as Sky. And it just felt like Thinking Men kind of gave up on playing with force, like dictated force towards Showers and U-Haul maybe a bit too soon, because MXS were backing off playing for retake, and that ended up being very successful for them to a point where not only were they successfully retaking, they were actually just stopping Thinking Men from getting any plants off at all. So yeah, it's just, I think maybe a little bit of overthinking for the side of Thinking Men there, because that series was well winnable, I would say. Not even just through that map, but there was also, like I said, a handful of rounds in Breeze that could have gone the either way. It just kind of missed out on a couple opportunities in the mid round.
And both of the teams really working around the momentum, something that we saw throughout the series today, but especially on the last map, I think it's shown. We were able to see it the most, right? When it was 5 rounds on the second half where Thinking Man got the upper hand, took the lead. It seems like they were going to run away with it. They got double digits before Moist Shopify got them. And then it was just Moist Shopify getting away with the round after round, even after some of the key players in that first half slowed down. Brock was having an insane first half, was so still performing really well on the second one, but a little bit less. And that's when Mata, for example, was able to step up and close it out. Yeah,
I mean, there was was a flyer with the 1v2 on the B side, right? Like flashed both players trying to come out of hookah. Brock ends up rotating into that side, I think. But yeah, yes, that was really sick. I mean, that kind of round, like Valorant is the kind of round where you can have like a lot of branching implications off of just one round. And I think like it looks very different. I think if MXS don't win that round, at least looks much closer at the end of the game. So it's really about finding those moments to turn the tide and keep the pressure on.
And it's a great moment as well for Moist Shopify when you're able to win a series, when you don't win a single pistol. You lose all 6 pistols. You lose the bonus on the second half of the last map, the one that matters the most, to keep you undefeated in Challengers, and you win against all odds when it comes to that. On a Thinking Man that was looking better and better. I think that says a lot about Moist Shopify. But we're going to throw to a series highlights. You guys check out everything that happened, which was insane. A lot of back and forwards, and we get ready for the interview.
10 seconds left. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. remaining. Last player standing. One enemy remaining. Who? Fight. Skies. Last. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. 30 seconds left.
Enemy down.
Last player standing. One enemy One enemy One enemy remaining. Flawless.
They say in life, there are no guarantees. They say a lot of stuff like that. Slow it down. Play it safe. Hedge your bets. So what? You gonna listen to that? You gonna stop because they can't guarantee you'll pull this off? No guarantee you'll win? No guarantee everything's gonna be fine? In life, you make your own guarantees. Nobody else will light your way. Start your own fire and keep it burning. And we guarantee you'll have one hell of a lifetime.
Welcome back, everyone, to VALORANT Challengers North America. We just got the chance to watch a 2-1 victory and Moist Shopify take the win against Thinking Man. And now it's time for the interview. I'm here with Mata. Mata, first of all, congratulations on this win. And
Thank
the
you.
first question that I have for you is going to be about two different scenarios. So this match was a little back and forth, but I have two scenarios. The first one, the 3-13 loss that you take on that map, number one, and the second scenario is the 7-10 round deficit that you had on Bind. On those both scenarios, you come back in different ways. One with a map win, and the other one coming back in the last map and taking this win of the series. Tell me, when it's a situation like this one, what goes through the team's heads, what goes through everybody's heads to make sure that you're able to come back like nothing happened?
I mean, we knew that we lost split because it was mostly because of ourselves. Like, we just didn't listen to each other at all, didn't listen to the game plan. Everything was just bad. Like, we weren't really doing anything good. They were playing well too, to be fair. But, I mean, we didn't even, like, put up a fight, and it was kind of just embarrassing. So, when I got to map 2, we just, like, said, like, all right, forget that. Like, it doesn't matter. They were playing well, we were playing bad, we know that. So, we were just like, all right, let's just listen to each other, play our game. We'll probably win.
And you guys, when it came to this match, were the favorites for the community, and I think expectations for the way that you've been playing and the way that Thinking Man had been performing before. Is there ever a point where, I know you mentioned losing that map was kind of embarrassing. Is there a point where you do feel that the community pressure or even the pressure that you have on yourselves to get these wins?
I can't speak for my whole team, but I know for me, like, expectations mean nothing. I've been competing with the expectation, like any expectation, for almost like 4 years now, so it really doesn't bother me. But yeah, I don't think it bothers anyone on our team. Like, we're all pretty experienced, and we know that, like, we just have to play our game, don't worry about what other people are saying, and we should be fine.
And speaking of the mentality too, something that I really want to know with the way that you perform as a duelist, you're so aggressive, you're going in and you're getting those opening picks, you're opening up the fights and the rounds for your team. Is there a sort of balance that you have in your head when it comes to respecting the enemy team and also just disrespecting them in some scenarios? Is there any sort of balance of that, or just playing your own game?
It's definitely
just doing your thing.
It's just doing my own thing and playing without respect. The whole off season, and I think teaming with Vanity, honestly, give me a shout out to Vanity. Teaming with them kind of made me realize that you can just peek and kill almost anyone, and I think since then, I know especially for me and Vic, we just you'll see, we just play super aggressive and just peek and kill. And if we lose a round or lose a game, it's we're losing on our own terms, and I think that's the most important thing. We're not thinking what more could I have done in the match or anything like that. We're peeking, we're fighting, we're trying to do it together most of the time. Sometimes we get a little bit crazy, but yeah, that's it.
And yeah, I mean, it worked, right? In those situations on that last map of Bayern when you were down, it was you going in, no fear, full confidence, and getting 1-2 kills to open up the rounds and turn it around. So we really see where the confidence is coming from and the results that is getting. Now, speaking of confidence as well, you have 2 more matches for week 4 and week 5. Is Together We're Terrific and YFP. How are you feeling for those?
I think Together We're Terrific is probably going to be harder than this game. So we have to focus up, play better. And YFP, they lost Moose. I think since then it's been a little bit tough. But they're also good players. They're my friends on that team as well, so it should be pretty fun. But yeah.
All right, would you be willing to say that is going to be you winning both of those matches, or are you just feeling it out and seeing how it goes?
I would never say anything like that. I would never.
Okay.
No game is free.
No game is free. That's true, especially in Challengers. I think a lot of teams have proven that anything can happen. But you guys are looking really good, Mata. Congrats again on this win. And I'm going to let you go. And as for us, we have one more match to go today. It's going to be Core against YFP on the other side of this break.